My younger sister crashed into a Bugatti. The damages came to 130 million yuan. The owner was Beijing's most untouchable heiress, Miss Pei. I went to ask her about installments, despite my dread. For these damages, could I pay in installments? She reclined on the sofa and studied me for 10 seconds. Her red lips curled slightly. Then repay me with yourself. Later, I became her fake boyfriend to fend off suitors. She paid my debts and handled my troubles. She even transferred me into the music department I'd always dreamed of. I had only one job: pretend to love her. The day I went with Pei Yanran to the national violin competition, I sat in the audience. She won the gold medal. Instead of celebrating with her coach first, she went backstage and changed into a white gown. She pushed through the crowd and threw herself into my arms. She took out the matching ring she'd prepared long ago. Chen, will you marry me? The entire venue erupted in screams. Those rings were worth 410 million yuan. But that very night, her mother had people force her onto a flight to England. At the airport, I watched her through the glass, heartbroken. She looked at me with love in her eyes. Then she spoke her final words: "Wait for me to come back." 5 years later, on a London street, an elegant woman stood before a massive screen. It displayed photographs of me from the past 5 years. 5 years. I went from an ordinary man drowning in debt. My musical talent carried me to center stage on the international music scene. A young Chinese woman approached and asked, "Ma'am, is he your idol?" The woman did not move. Her voice was cool and certain. "My husband, elsewhere." My assistant, Tang Q, howled excitedly. "Brother Chen, we got another invitation for a private performance." He was excited like an oversized child. I laughed helplessly. "It is just a private performance. Why are you this excited?" Tang Qiu leaned in mysteriously. He lowered his voice. "This one is different. Guess how much they are offering for one private performance?" I usually make only 500,000 yuan. Judging by his reaction, I made a cautious guess. 800,000 yuan? He shook his head wildly. No. Guess higher. Higher than 800,000. What sucker would pay that? 1 million yuan. But Tang Qiu pursed his lips again. Higher. Much higher. That is completely unrealistic. Now I was on alert. Is this some high-paying scam? To ship me off to Myanmar and harvest my kidneys? We are not taking that job. My life comes first. Tang Qiu burst out laughing. He thumped his chest in assurance. "What are you thinking? The performance is here in China. Right here in Beijing. I heard it is for an heiress who just returned from England." My curiosity flared. "Do you know who she is?" "No idea. They are being very secretive. All we know is that her surname is Pei." Pei. That name made my heart lurch, as though something deep in my mind had been stirred. "Oh, right. The piece she requested is Old Dreams." Pei. Old Dreams. Why did they seem to exist in my memories? They felt so familiar. I frowned deeply. No matter how hard I tried, I could not grasp that memory. It seemed buried in the deepest part of my mind. Just as I struggled to remember, Tang Qiu suddenly blurted out a staggering number. 5.2 million yuan. That number means, it practically screams, "I love you." That is so romantic. Does she like you? Brother Chen, what love-struck woman has been secretly pining for our boss Jiang? Coming back to myself, I glanced at him. I replied casually, "You are overthinking it." The private performance was held at Mingyuan Manor, in Beijing's most exclusive neighborhood. They sent a Rolls-Royce Phantom to pick us up and take us back. Tang Qiu stared in astonishment. "Damn, this is how an heiress travels? That is insanely lavish. What is wrong with this world, having one more rich person like me? What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that?" I could not help laughing. "I will give you a raise this month." The moment I said that, Tang Qiu squealed. "Boss Jiang, you are so generous." The Rolls-Royce Phantom glided smoothly along. It drove straight into Mingyuan Manor, stopping before a vast estate. So luxurious it stretched beyond sight. Its extravagantly ornate decor reeked of decadent wealth at every turn. Even I could not help marveling inwardly. Who exactly was this heiress to be this wealthy? The butler and servants waited respectfully at the entrance. "Mr. Jiang, this way, please." I gave a slight nod. An unsettling feeling rose within me. Once inside the estate, the butler led me to a dressing room. A servant handed me an outfit. I looked up. It was traditional attire in a haunting style. "Please change first. Someone will come style you shortly." "All right, thank you," I replied politely. I quickly changed into the performance outfit. It fit perfectly. It was as if it had been tailored for me. After I changed, the stylist began doing my hair. About 20 minutes later, I was completely ready. The butler led me to the performance stage. I looked down at the audience. A woman with a graceful figure sat there, but the lighting was dim, and I could not see her face. Yet her gaze was like a brand, fixed tightly on me. Before I could think further, the woman raised a hand, signaling me to begin. I forcibly steadied my emotions and devoted myself to the performance. When the performance ended, I bowed to the audience. The moment I stepped off stage, a servant blocked my path. Mr. Jiang, our young mistress invites you to dinner. At that, I instinctively turned to look. The lighting was still dim. I still could not see her face against the stage lights. I walked toward her step by step. At last, her face came clearly into view. A stunning, delicate face smiled at me. Her long dress was sexy yet effortless. Her languid allure hit me full force. She stared at me. Her red lips curved into a sly smile. Chen, long time no see. Her voice was irresistibly seductive. Her voice shot straight through my ears. The next second, I clutched my chest. It felt as if someone had seized my heart in a vicious grip. The pain nearly left me unable to breathe. Seeing me like that, she rose in panic. She reached out and slipped into my arms. I cried out in surprise. I stood there, utterly frozen. Her arm wrapped around mine. Chen, she said tenderly. I am back. I will never leave again. I looked down at the face so close to mine, yet leaving me utterly bewildered. My mind was completely blank. I tried to push her away. She looked up at me with an amused smile. But when she saw my bare ring finger, her pupils suddenly constricted. I frowned instinctively and hesitantly asked, did we know each other? The smile at her lips froze instantly. She stared at me intently, her voice trembling slightly, as she asked in disbelief, Chen, have you really forgotten me? I desperately searched my memories, but it was as though something had sealed my mind shut. I shook my head. I am sorry. You feel so familiar to me, but I truly cannot remember. The air instantly froze. It was as if all hope had suddenly drained from her. I hurriedly looked away, unable to face her any longer. To escape that strange intimacy, I quickly pushed her away. Miss Pei, is there anything else you need? If not, I will go change first. She hesitated for a moment, then answered coolly, I turned and left. Her heavy gaze still followed behind me. I could even feel the wounded resentment radiating from her. I paused. I left her with one word. Sorry. Then I fled. I returned to the dressing room and changed into my own clothes. My heartbeat would not settle. Tang Qiu rushed over excitedly. Boss Jiang, you know that Miss Pei. My hand paused. I looked at my bewildered reflection in the mirror. Once I had changed, I said, maybe. Tang Qiu's eyes instantly lit up. Damn, she is gorgeous. She is an absolute goddess. That face. That figure. He leaned close to my ear and whispered conspiratorially, she is seriously curvy. Boss Jiang, you have to win her over. I frowned, suppressing the strange feeling in my chest, and rebuked him. Listen to yourself. How can you judge someone behind her back? I have met plenty of women. I can guarantee it. Hey, Boss Jiang, why are you blushing? You blush so easily. How will you ever date someone? I shook my head helplessly. I have no plans to date anyone for now. Someone came over carrying tea. Mr. Tang, Mr. Jiang, you have worked hard. Please have some tea. I smiled faintly and accepted the tea. I took a small sip. The next second, the servant added, Miss Pei will arrange a car to take you both home later. I immediately declined. There is no need to trouble Miss Pei. My family will pick me up as soon as I finish speaking. Since Mr. Jiang's family is coming for him, we will not arrange a car. A cool female voice suddenly sounded in the room. I looked toward the voice. Pei Yanran had walked in. When will your family arrive? Mr. Jiang, I will see you out. I came back to my senses and quickly looked down at my phone. My mother had just sent me a message. Chen, I am outside Moulin Manor. My family is already here. I looked at her and said politely. She immediately replied, then let us go. I will see you out. Mr. Jiang, I had wanted to refuse, but seeing her like this, I nodded anyway. Then I will trouble you, Miss Pei. The moment we left Moulin Manor, an understated Maybach came into view. My mother, Song Weilin, was standing beside it. When she saw me, Chen, I hurried over. Mom, she handed me a bouquet of flowers. I accepted it happily. Thanks, Mom. Annie Song. Oh, little Tang. My mother's gaze inadvertently landed on Pei Yanran. Her warm smile instantly froze. This must be Miss Pei. Hello, Miss Pei. Pei Yanran's gentle eyes instantly reddened. She forcibly restrained her emotions and gave my mother a slight nod. In a cool voice, she said, I have things to do. I will be leaving now. Before she even finished, she turned and walked away. The instant she turned, tears silently fell. In a bedroom at Moulin, Pei Yanran sat back in an armchair, motionless and silent. She remained there until the first dawn light filtered through the window, falling over her graying hair. Overcome by profound grief and rage, Pei Yanran's hair had turned white overnight. Her phone suddenly rang, shattering the dead silence. Her lashes trembled slightly. Only after a long while did she pick up the phone. Jingxing's voice came through. Yanran. The woman's voice was heavy with disappointment. What is wrong? Weren't you reunited after so long? Why do you sound so upset? Pei Yanran sighed softly. Jiang Chen has lost his memory. Jingxing gasped. What? Are you sure? Wednesday night, I played a bamboo flute at the center of the charity gala stage. When I played the final note, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. I retreated backstage. A graceful, gentle figure suddenly appeared before me. Zhu Jingyan stood there, holding a large bouquet. Chen, congratulations on a wonderful performance. I accepted the flowers with a smile. But just then, a cold, displeased gaze pierced into me. I looked over, and to my surprise, saw Pei Yanran. Her entire presence radiated a suffocating air of danger. She walked straight toward me and addressed me coldly. Mr. Jiang, Miss Pei. I quickly gave her a slight nod. Her gaze swept over me like a laser, then settled on Zhu Jingyan's face. Who is she to you? I was somewhat confused, but I explained anyway. She is my friend. She gave a soft laugh. A faint, unreadable smile curled at her lips. A friend. Then her gaze fell on the bouquet Zhu Jingyan had given me. She asked displeasedly, or a girlfriend? I instinctively explained. She is a friend. Pei Yanran gave a careless laugh. Then she turned to Zhu Jingyan. So, just friends. These flowers are lovely. May I take a look? I nodded. I handed her the bouquet. The instant I let go, she unexpectedly let go too. The lush, dewy bouquet crashed heavily to the floor with a dull thud. I am terribly sorry. I did not mean to. Though she apologized, she pretended to misstep and stepped on the petals. I was completely stunned. 1,000 questions filled my mind. After trampling them, she bent down and picked up the bouquet, then tossed it into the nearby trash can. She did it all in one fluid motion, without the slightest hesitation. She looked at me again, her face still full of sincere apology. I truly am sorry, Mr. Jiang, but I really did not mean to. Then she added, afterward, I will buy you a new bouquet. I was utterly speechless. How was that not deliberate? Other than her words, everything about her screamed that it was intentional. Even if I spent my life picking fights, I could never say anything so arrogant. Mr. Jiang, why are you not saying anything? She asked again, her eyes innocent. Are you blaming me? She irritated me so much that I laughed. I could only answer stiffly, no. I turned to apologize to Zhu Jingyan, but just as I was about to speak, it is only a bouquet. Pei Yanran coldly cut me off. I am sure Miss Zhu is not so petty. Is that right? She looked at Zhu Jingyan with an ambiguous smile, her eyes brimming with provocation. Zhu Jingyan's expression stiffened, but she forced herself to say, it is only a bouquet. It is not important. Next time, I will give Chen something better. Pei Yanran replied sarcastically. Oh, you give unimportant things to your idol, but keep the important things hidden away. Zhu Jingyan's face instantly turned a dark, livid red. She was just about to explain when Tang Qiu rushed over, saying urgently, Mr. Jiang, hurry and change. The gala is about to begin. Tang Qiu pulled me away, but I instinctively looked back. Pei Yanran was also preparing to leave with us. But before she left, she shot Zhu Jingyan a provocative look. Zhu Jingyan's gaze instantly turned cold. Her red lips pressed into a tight line. After the charity gala ended, I got into the car. My fingertips still remembered the bamboo flute, but all I could think of was that crushed bouquet. I tugged irritably at my tie. Tang Qiu kept sneaking glances at me from the passenger seat. I rubbed my temples. Say what you want to say. He grinned and leaned closer. Mr. Jiang, today was truly eye-opening. Miss Pei's acting was incredible. Even stomping on petals, she looked like she was on a runway. There were so many people by the backstage entrance, yet not one dared make a sound. I glanced at him. You seem to admire her. I would not call it admiration. It is just that, Mr. Jiang, I cannot shake the feeling that Miss Pei has a strange look in her eyes whenever she sees you. Something is very off. Ever since I met Pei Yanran, she has felt strangely familiar. I am certain I had no memory of this woman at all. Then why does it feel like she knows me so well? Tang Qiu and I returned to the apartment. It was already late at night. I took off my suit jacket and tossed it onto the sofa. I was just about to take a shower when Tang Qiu's phone suddenly began vibrating wildly. He answered it, and his face visibly drained of color. When he hung up, he seemed to collapse in on himself. Mr. Jiang, something happened. My heart dropped. Tell me, all our commercial performance bookings for the second half of the year have been cancelled. I froze. All of them? The year-end show at Huajing Grand Theater, the Shanghai Philharmonic's Double Concerto, the Shenzhen International Music Festival, and the Macau New Year's show. Tang Qiu listed them all in one breath. Every one of them was cancelled. My breathing stopped. Those bookings had taken me 5 years of struggle turn. From little bars in Europe, I had played my way to the Royal Albert Hall. From being called that Chinese boy, to international critics writing columns to recommend me. Every performance was my lifeblood. What is the reason? I tried to keep my voice calm. They said there was a scheduling issue. Tang Qiu looked miserable. They will pay double the cancellation fee. I gave a cold laugh. On the same day, the same group, every booking cancelled. Someone is pulling strings. Tang Qiu looked at me cautiously. Mr. Jiang, could it be Zhu Jingyan? Or someone behind her? She does not have that kind of power. No matter how capable Zhu Jingyan is, she could not, in a single night, sway so many top-tier organizers. The person capable of this. My head began to buzz. That beautiful, vivid face surfaced in my mind again. At 8 the next morning, the apartment doorbell rang. Tang Qiu, on high alert, ran to answer it. When he returned, Mr. Jiang, outside, someone is here to see you. She says her name is Jingxing, and that she is Miss Pei's best friend. Jingxing. Why did that name feel both familiar and unfamiliar again? So irritating. I straightened my clothes and walked out. On the living room sofa sat a woman in a beige trench coat. When she saw me, she stood and politely offered her hand. Mr. Jiang. Hello. I shook her hand, polite but distant. Miss Ji, thank you for waiting. What can I do for you? She got straight to the point. I came to ask you one question for Yanran. Do you really not remember anything at all? I fell silent. Jingxing stared into my eyes. Jiang Chen, 5 years ago, you said something to me yourself. Do you remember it? I shook my head. She gave a small smile. There was indescribable weariness in that smile. You told me then, Qinghuan, if Yanran's mother takes her away, please stop her for me. She's the only woman I'll ever marry. Those words were like a key, forced violently into my mind. But the lock would not budge. I pressed a hand to my temple, cold sweat seeping out. I'm sorry, I really can't remember. Jingxing pulled a document from her briefcase. Mr. Jiang, this is an exclusive buyout contract from Pei Entertainment for every organizer handling your commercial performances. Starting today, for the next 3 years, all of their schedules have all been bought out by Pei Group. For the next 3 years, that means within China, every one of my top-tier commercial performances has been bought out by Pei Yanran alone. I practically ground the question out through my teeth. What does she want? Mr. Jiang, you should ask her that yourself. Miss Ji, in life and business, people need to know the limits. Limits? She gave a soft laugh. Mr. Jiang, you want to talk about limits with Yanran? Miss Pei and I only have an ordinary business relationship. Jiang Chen, you may have forgotten her, but you cannot be unaware of what happened 5 years ago when she was put on that plane. My chest tightened. What do you mean? Jingxing did not answer. She simply took a yellowed photograph from her pocket and laid it on the coffee table. Look at it. I walked over and picked up the photograph. It was an old photo. Its corners had curled. There were 2 people in it. One was Pei Yanran in a wedding dress. The other was me in a suit. Our eyes brimmed with an unshakable tenderness. The hand holding the photo began to shake violently. My temple pounded. Something seemed ready to break free inside my head. A girl stood on a stage, a violin in her hand. Then she ran toward me with a smile, straight into my arms. Chen, she said, her eyes red-rimmed. Will you marry me? Then the memory shattered. I staggered back, grabbing the coffee table to keep from falling. Mr. Jiang. Jingxing reached out in alarm to steady me. I'm fine. Did you remember something? Did you? I shook my head. Just a few fragments. They were very blurry. The way Jingxing looked at me changed. From her initial hostility to something complicated. She hesitated for several seconds, then finally spoke. Jiang Chen, when you and Yanran separated 5 years ago, it had nothing to do with whether her mother approved. My heart skipped a beat. That year, your father's company, Jiang Pharmaceuticals, because of the Pei family, was on the verge of bankruptcy. My pupils contracted to save your father's company. Yanran made a deal with her mother. She agreed to study in Britain in exchange for Jiang Pharmaceuticals being brought back from the brink. My blood turned cold in an instant. She gave a quiet laugh. Mr. Jiang, every time someone influential helped your career, every fortunate, exceptional promotion, was Yanran helping you from behind the scenes. The living room was silent except for my racing heartbeat. My fingers clenched tightly. 5 years. I thought those inexplicable invitations falling into my lap were heaven finally smiling on me. But someone had been where I could not see, paving an entire golden road for me. Yet when she returned 5 years later, I looked at her face and asked, have we met before? Jingxing sighed. I should not have told you. My voice was hoarse. I stared at her with bloodshot eyes. Then why did you tell me? She pointed out the window. Because she did not sleep all night. More than half her hair turned white. I jerked my head up. Jiang Chen, in all my life, I have never seen anyone turn gray overnight because of another person. But Yanran did. Daylight blazed outside the window, but I felt swallowed by boundless darkness. After Jingxing left, Tang Qiu came in carrying coffee. When he saw me sitting motionless on the sofa, he carefully set the coffee on the table. Mr. Jiang. I did not look up. Mr. Jiang, are you all right? I stared at the photograph, my fingertips gently tracing the girl's face in it. After a long while, I spoke quietly. Tang Qiu, look into something for me. Mr. Jiang, go ahead. I turned the photo over. A line of delicate handwriting was on the back. Chen, at my first wedding, I will marry only you. It was dated June 8th, 5 years ago. I gripped the photo tighter, my knuckles turning white. Find out whether, on June 8th, 5 years ago, at St. John's Church in western Jing City, there was a wedding that was never completed. Tang Qiu looked at me, completely bewildered. Mr. Jiang, you. I raised my head, my eyes blazing red. Just do it. After Tang Qiu left, I sat on the sofa for the entire night. I looked over that photograph more than 100 times. The girl in it smiled so openly, without a guard in the world. And the me in that photograph, his eyes were as clear as if he had just stepped out of spring. I did not know how I had lost that man, or how I had lost her either. At 6 in the morning, Tang Qiu burst into the apartment. He did not knock. He had used the spare key to rush straight in. His hair was a wild mess, with dark circles under his eyes. Mr. Jiang. He slammed a stack of documents onto the coffee table. I shot to my feet. I found it. Mr. Jiang, you need to prepare yourself. I snatched up the top sheet. It was a photocopy of the registry from St. John's Church in Western Jing City. June 8th, 5 years ago. 3 in the afternoon. Bridegroom, Chen. Bride, Yanran. 2 names were signed under the wedding witnesses. One was Jingxing, the other was my father, Jiang. My fingers began shaking violently. Mr. Jiang, there is one more document. Tang Qiu pulled out another sheet. These are the payment records from that day. Every single one bears your father's personal signature. I dropped heavily back onto the sofa. So that wedding had not only truly happened, it had been personally arranged by my father. So for the past 5 years, my entire family had been lying to me. Mr. Jiang. Tang Qiu lowered his voice. I looked up at him. There is something else. He swallowed hard. Last night, I bought drinks for St. John's old gatekeeper. He said, the wedding was halfway through that day. What happened? As the bride was changing rings, the bride and groom fell down the stairs. The bride passed out on the spot. What about me? You passed out too. But luckily, the instant it happened, the bride shielded you tightly. You only suffered scrapes. Tang Qiu paused. After that, some other things happened. I closed my eyes. A scalding tear slid from the corner of my eye. I no longer had the courage to hear more. All that remained in my mind were her words. Chen, did you really forget me? I stood outside the pay group building, clutching a steaming Americano. Tang Qiu had found this out for me. Every day at 3 in the afternoon, Yanran came downstairs to buy an Americano at the cafe across the street. No sugar, no milk, the kind so bitter it made you frown. Jingxing said she had picked up the habit in Britain. She had not changed it in 5 years. 5 years of habit. And I could not even remember what she liked to drink. At exactly 3, the revolving doors turned. She came out, holding her phone, reading something on it. She walked right past me, her eyes not even flicking in my direction, until I called after her. Yanran. She stopped and looked back. What is it? Her answer was crisp and blunt, like a blade cutting through the air. The words I had prepared caught in my throat. I want to talk to you. She checked her watch. About what? I have 15 minutes. I froze for a moment, then held out the coffee. I heard you like Americanos. I was passing by, so I picked one up. She glanced at it, but did not take it. Chen, you do not need to do this. I do not mean anything else. I just want to apologize. She cut me off. Her tone as calm as if reading a report. You have already apologized, Jingxing told me. You said you were sorry, and I received it. Is that enough? I stood there holding the coffee, suddenly realizing how ridiculous I was. Yes, I had apologized. But then, what? I spoke in a low voice. I truly do not remember that time. Not you. Not the wedding. Not any of it. I did not do it on purpose. I know. Jingxing told me everything. Amnesia. Selective memory loss. Psychological trauma. Medicine has an explanation for it. Logically, it makes sense. So what? Do you expect me, because you say you do not remember, to pretend these 5 years never happened? That is not what I mean. Then what do you mean? I looked into her eyes and could not say a word. I could only look at her, swallowing everything down. She took a deep breath. Chen, I do not hate you. Hating someone is exhausting. I do not have the energy for it. I just do not know how to face you. So, you do not have to go out of your way to find me. Neither of us owes the other anything. With that, she turned to leave. After 2 steps, she stopped. With her back to me, she said, one more thing. I do not drink Americanos. I watched Yanran's retreating figure and threw the coffee into a trash can. That night, I could not sleep. Lying in bed, all I could think of was that distant look in her eyes. She said she did not hate me, but she had not forgiven me either. To her, I had become someone she did not need to make an effort to face. I picked up my phone and found Tang Qiu's contact. Look into her recent schedule for me. 5 minutes later, Tang Qiu replied with a question mark. Mr. Jiang, did you not say we should not disturb her? I cleared my throat awkwardly. I changed my mind. Are you going to check or not? I will check. You are my boss. You call the shots. Early the next morning, Tang Qiu sent a report to my phone. It was Yanran's schedule for the week. As I looked at the report, my finger stopped on the screen. Thursday. Orphanage. Today was Thursday. I gave myself no time to hesitate. I drove straight to the orphanage. When I got there, I sat in my car, watching her play with the children from afar. She crouched on the ground, building blocks with a little girl wearing pigtails. The way she smiled overlapped with a hazy image. In my memory, I remembered that smile. I really remembered it. My heart suddenly began to race. I did not get out. I remained in the car, watching her play with the children from afar, sharing a little cake with them. She smiled so happily. Nothing like the woman outside Pay Group yesterday. So, she could smile around other people. Only when her car left the orphanage did I start my engine and follow. Pei Yanran did not go home. Instead, she went somewhere on the outskirts of Jing City. I followed her car to an old neighborhood. She entered a music shop. I waited in my car for 40 minutes. When she came out, she carried a long, narrow case. It was a violin case. She placed the case carefully on the passenger seat. As she bent down to set it there, her gaze suddenly swept across the street to my car. Our eyes met across the street. She paused in surprise, then straightened and looked at me, as if trying to determine what I was after. I got out and walked over. "What happened to your violin?" She glanced at me. "The violin is getting old. There are a few tiny cracks in its body. The top plate was coming unglued. Uncle Zhao glued it back together for me and replaced the strings while he was at it." Her tone was very flat, as though she were chatting with an ordinary friend, but her fingers tightened slightly around the violin case. I caught that small detail. "May I see it?" She hesitated for a second, then handed me the violin case. I looked inside the violin case and saw an engraved line. My fingers froze. The letters Y and R, Yanran's initials. I looked up at her. "Your first listener gave it to you. You engraved it." I looked down at the engraving. "I engraved it. I do not remember." She took the violin case back, set it on the passenger seat, and closed the door. Then she turned to me and asked, "Why are you following me?" I pressed my lips together. "I do not know. I just wanted to see you." She said nothing. A breeze swept through, ruffling her hair slightly. She tucked it behind her ear. "Now you have seen me. What now?" I paused. "Are you going to the orphanage tomorrow?" She looked at me, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. "Yes." "Then I will come again tomorrow." She did not respond, but she did not refuse either. She opened the car door and got in. The window rolled halfway down, and her voice came from inside. "Chen, you do not have to make it up to me like this. I do not need your pity. I do not pity you. I just wanted to come." She said nothing more. Her car slowly pulled out of the street. I stood where I was, watching her taillights disappear around the corner. The phone in my pocket buzzed. It was a text from her. "Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I stared at the message and smiled on the sidewalk. I put my phone back in my pocket just as I was about to head home, when it suddenly buzzed again. It was a call from Tang Qiu. "Mr. Jiang, there is something I think you should know. Zhu Jingyan met with someone this afternoon." Tang Qiu lowered his voice. "At a private club on the East 3rd Ring Road. I had someone look into it. The man she met is a Pei. His name is Pei Jingxing." I had never heard that name before. "Who is he?" Tang Qiu paused, then said, "He is the eldest son of the Pei family's main branch. By family rank, he is Pei Yanran's cousin." Pei Yanran's cousin? Why would he meet with Zhu Jingyan? I do not know, but I also uncovered some old history. 5 years ago, when Pei Yanran's mother was in charge, she forced Pei Jingxing's father off the board. The two branches have barely spoken since then. Put simply, there is bad blood between them. I gripped my phone, my mind racing. Zhu Jingyan and Pei Yanran's cousin. With those two together, their target was obvious. "Can you find out what he has been doing lately?" "Yes. We are already looking into it, but he keeps a low profile. There is nothing obvious on the surface. Keep watching him. Tell me the moment you learn anything." At 9:30 the next morning, I arrived at the orphanage entrance, carrying a hot latte with sugar and milk and an extra sandwich. I was half an hour early. I sat waiting on a bench by the entrance. At 9:50, a white Porsche pulled up outside. She wore a pink coat today, her hair in a high ponytail, with silver earrings. She got out of the car and saw the coffee and paper bag in my hands. "You brought sandwiches today, too? I thought you might be hungry." She took the coffee and sandwich, lowering her gaze to look at them. She said nothing, but one corner of her mouth lifted. She did not eat, just carried them in her hand. As she turned toward the courtyard, I followed her. The activities were much the same as yesterday. Reading picture books with the children, building blocks, and having snacks. She was fully engaged the entire time, crouching down and playing with the children. "Slow down. There is plenty more." I helped hand out fruit nearby, but kept watching her from the corner of my eye. When snack time ended, the children were taken for their naps. She sat on a swing in the courtyard and finally unwrapped the sandwich. She took a bite. I sat on the swing beside her. "Yesterday, You told me to watch out for Zhu Jingyan. You do not believe me. I continued. What about that cousin of yours? She froze halfway through taking a bite. Several seconds passed before she slowly swallowed. She did not look at me. Her voice was unnaturally calm. You looked into him? I did not investigate him. Someone saw him meeting with Zhu Jingyan. She was silent for a long time. The wind blew, gently swaying the swings. Then she spoke. Pei Jingxing is my eldest uncle's son. Her voice was soft. After my mother pushed his father off the board 5 years ago, he decided our branch of the family owed him. I asked with concern, has he ever caused you trouble? She did not answer. She only turned her head and met my eyes. He would not dare do anything openly. But if he joins forces with someone else, then who knows? My heart sank. She knew. She knew everything. You knew he would meet with Zhu Jingyan. I did not know they had met. But I guess they would. Zhu Jingyan hates me. Pei Jingxing hates me too. To people who hate me getting together cannot be planning my birthday party, can they? Her tone nearly made me laugh. But I could not. What are you going to do? Nothing. She wrapped up the half-eaten sandwich again. If they want to come after me, they had better be capable of it. She said it casually, as if she did not take either of them seriously. But I noticed the fingers clutching the paper bag tightened slightly. I opened my mouth, about to speak, when my phone suddenly buzzed in my pocket. I took it out and looked. It was a message from Tang Qiu. Mr. Jiang, I found something. Pei Jingxing registered a new company 3 days ago. The legal representative is someone you do not know. But after tracing the ownership, the ultimate beneficiary is Pei Jingxing himself. That new company submitted a letter of intent to Pei Entertainment yesterday to acquire part of the business. He wants to buy one of Pei Entertainment's divisions. That division handles all of your performances through several affiliated subsidiaries. I stared at the screen. My pupils constricted slightly. I looked up at her. She was looking down at her phone, her brow slightly furrowed. Clearly, she had received the news too. After reading it, she put down her phone, then looked up at me with a faint smile. Chen, are you busy this afternoon? No. I shook my head. Then come somewhere with me. Where? She stood up, brushing imaginary dust from herself. Her lips curved. To see my dear cousin, of course. Before I could answer, she had turned and headed for the car outside. Pei Yanran suddenly looked back at me. What are you standing there for? Come on. I hurried around and got into the passenger seat. The car pulled away at once. The wind lifted the loose strands by her ear. I glanced at her from the corner of my eye. Her expression was calm, almost too calm. What are you going to say to him? Say what? Tell him I know about the schemes he has been pulling behind our backs. She gave a faint smile. I will not say a thing. I was puzzled. What do you mean? Registering a new company and submitting an acquisition proposal. Those are all legal, legitimate business moves. If I storm in and confront him, he will turn it back on me, claiming I am a petty cousin who cannot stand family doing business. She paused. So I will not discuss the acquisition with him. Then why are we going to see him? She glanced at me, her lips curving. To bring him a gift. A gift? To congratulate him on his new company. I paused, then suddenly understood what she was doing. I leaned back in my seat and smiled too. You really are quite devious. She did not reply, but her smile deepened. The car stopped beneath a new office building. I looked up. The building stood directly across from Pei Entertainment's headquarters, separated by one street, directly facing Pei Entertainment's chairwoman's office window. Choosing this location was an obvious provocation. She got out of the car, took an elegant gift bag from the trunk, and headed straight into the lobby. The receptionist froze when she saw her. Miss Pei, what brings you here? Pei Yanran smiled with graceful warmth. I am here to see my cousin. I heard his new company has opened, so I came to congratulate him. The receptionist hesitated, but called upstairs. After hanging up, her expression turned complicated. President Pei will see you. He is on the 16th floor. Thank you. Pei Yanran thanked her with a smile, then carried the gift bag to the elevator. I followed her in. The moment the elevator doors closed, the gentle smile vanished from her lips. That was quite an act. An act of what? Like the perfect little cousin. She said nothing, but in the elevator door's reflection, I saw a flash of coldness in her eyes. The 16th floor arrived. At the end of the hall was an imposing office. Its door was half open. She pushed it open and walked in. Pei Jingxing looked to be in his early 30s, with shrewdness in his eyes. When he saw Pei Yanran enter, his face instantly broke into a smile. He rose to greet her. Yanran, what brings you here? You should have told me beforehand. I would have had someone prepare for you. His smile was overly warm, so fake it was obvious. Pei Yanran smiled too, more sincerely than he did. Cousin, starting a new company is such a major event, yet did not even tell me. I had to hear it from someone else. So, I came especially to congratulate you. She placed the gift bag on his desk. Her movements gentle, her bearing elegant. You are too kind. It is just a small venture. Nothing worth making a fuss over. A small venture. With these renovations and this location, it hardly looks small to me. Cousin, you look ready to build something big. Not at all. It cannot compare to Pei Entertainment's scale. His gaze suddenly landed on me, as if he had only just noticed I was there. And this is my friend, Jiang Chen. Pei Yanran introduced me casually, as if I were no one of importance. When Pei Jingxing heard my name, his eyes shifted almost imperceptibly, but quickly returned to normal. Mr. Jiang, he extended his hand. I have heard so much about you. An internationally acclaimed musician. It is an honor. I shook his hand. You flatter me, President Pei. He gave me another look, his gaze assessing and calculating. He withdrew his hand and turned back to Pei Yanran. Yanran, you have not looked well lately. He put on a concerned expression. Have you been staying up late again? Your health comes first. Do not push yourself so hard. I am fine. He seemed to remember something. Oh, right? I hear you have been spending quite a bit of time with the Zhu family lately. My chest tightened. He had brought it up himself. Pei Yanran's smile did not change in the slightest. Cousin, you are certainly well informed. This circle is small. It is hard not to hear things. I noticed. His eyes briefly swept over my face. The Zhu family has influence in Beijing. When dealing with them, it never hurts to be cautious. He made it sound like kind advice, but I could hear it. He was hinting to Pei Yanran. I know who you are dealing with. And he was also hinting. I know the man beside you has ties to the Zhu family too. Pei Yanran did not take the bait. She merely smiled and nodded. You are right, cousin. I will not keep you from your work. Let us have dinner sometime. With that, she turned and left. I followed. At the doorway, I glanced back. Pei Jingxing stood behind his desk. The smile had completely vanished from his face. His eyes were as sinister as a winter blade. The moment the elevator doors closed, I let out a long breath. Did you feel it? He is not here to fight a business war with you. He is here to tell you. He knows what you are doing and who you are with. Pei Yanran said nothing, but her fingers curled slightly. We left the lobby and returned to her car. She did not start it right away. Instead, she leaned back in her seat, looking through the windshield. At the top floor windows of Pei Entertainment headquarters, her office was up there. He deliberately opened his company across from mine, so every time I look up, I see his sign. Do you know what he wants? After a moment of silence, she said something that chilled me to the bone. He wants to replay the day my mother forced his father off the board. All over again. Except this time, I will be the one forced out. The car fell silent for several seconds. I asked, what are you going to do? She turned to me with a small smile, then started the car. I leaned back in the passenger seat, watching her calm profile from the corner of my eye. This woman was more complicated than I had imagined. She did not need my protection. What she needed was someone by her side. Someone who, when she made her move, would not hold her back. That night, I returned to my apartment and sat on the sofa. Over and over, my mind replayed what happened in Pei Jingxing's office that day. His words, Zhu Jingyan seems interested in that friend of yours lately, kept ringing in my ears. Pei Jingxing had not said it casually. He had said it deliberately for Pei Yanran to hear. He was telling her, I know who is by your side, and I know who wants to come after you. I picked up my phone and texted Tang Qiu. Look into this for me. How did Zhu Jingyan and Pei Jingxing meet? When did they meet? Did anyone introduce them? A few minutes later, Tang Qiu replied, Understood. Oh, Mr. Jiang. There is something I forgot to mention. While you were out this afternoon, someone delivered a package to the apartment. The sender was listed as Miss Su. I stared at the screen, my pupils narrowing. Zhu Jingyan knew my home address. Before I could reply, a second message appeared. I did not open the package. I put it beneath the shoe cabinet by your door. I got up and went to the door. Sure enough, there was a small box beneath the shoe cabinet. I crouched down and opened the package. Inside was a black velvet box. When I opened it, a pair of cufflinks lay inside. A card was tucked beneath them. The flowers were trampled that night. Let these cufflinks make up for it. I hope you will be wearing them next time we meet. Zhu Jingyan. I stared at the card for a long time. She sent me cufflinks. Pei Jingxing mentioned her in front of Pei Yanran. Those two, one acting openly, the other from the shadows, seemed to be playing a game of chess together, and the pieces on their board were not just Pei Yanran and me. I closed the box and set it on the coffee table. Then I replied to Tang Qiu. I know about the package. Keep digging into Pei Jingxing. The more detailed, the better. I put down my phone, leaned against the sofa, and closed my eyes. The next morning, I arrived at the orphanage 40 minutes early. I was carrying a hot latte and a sandwich, but that day, I had done one more thing. I had Tang Qiu compile overnight a detailed file on Pei Jingxing. I printed it and put it in a manila envelope. When she parked at the entrance, she saw the envelope in my hand and raised an eyebrow. What is that? Your cousin's resume. I handed her the envelope. I had Tang Qiu investigate all night. How many companies does he own? Where did the money come from? Who has he met over the past 3 months? It is all in there. She took the envelope, but did not open it immediately. Instead, she looked up at me. Why are you investigating him? Because he is coming after you, and I cannot let you face him alone. She looked at me, the thick envelope in her hands. She was silent for 2 2 or 3 seconds, then slipped it into her bag. Her lips moved slightly. Thanks. Her voice was soft, but I heard it. At the orphanage that day, as she played games with the children, she seemed more relaxed than before. I sat on a nearby bench, unwrapping the sandwich to eat. The swings creaked back and forth. Sunlight streamed through the leaves, and the air smelled of sunshine and cookies. I watched her crouch on the ground, guiding a little girl through a puzzle, piece by piece. Her ponytail swayed with every movement. She was not the person I remembered, but I was getting to know her again. Little by little. That afternoon, she did not mention Jingxing, nor did she ask why I was helping her. When I left, she only stood at the orphanage entrance and said, "Will you come tomorrow?" "I will." "Then bring me an iced Americano." I froze for a moment. "I thought you did not drink iced coffee." She tilted her head, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Did you not say you would slowly learn my habits?" With that, she turned and got into her car. I stood at the orphanage entrance, smiling for several seconds. Then I picked up my phone and texted her, "I will bring you an iced one tomorrow." She did not reply, but I saw her white Porsche pause at the intersection before turning away and disappearing through the window. I vaguely saw her looking down at her phone. After I returned from the orphanage that day, I sat in my apartment and went over Jingxing's file 3 times from beginning to end. Tang Qiu was thorough. Besides company registrations and cash flow records, he had also included Jingxing's social activities from the last 3 months, whom he met, what events he attended, even which restaurant he used one night to host a dinner. Every detail was listed clearly. I stared at one entry, my fingers stopping cold. 3 months ago, at a private equestrian club outside Beijing, Jingxing met Zhu Jingyan's father, Zhu Mingyuan. The meeting lasted about 40 minutes. Zhu Mingyuan, Zhu Jingyan's father. I read that line again, then called Tang Qiu. When Jingxing met Zhu Mingyuan, what did they discuss? Can you find out? Tang Qiu was silent for 2 seconds. Mr. Jiang, a meeting at that level. The details could never leak out. But I can tell you one thing. Not long after that meeting, one of Zhu Mingyuan's companies invested in Jingxing's new company. It was not much, just enough to cover a fraction of its registered capital. I frowned at that. So you mean the Zhu family is backing him? Yes, you could say that. I hung up, then leaned back on the sofa and thought for a long time. Jingxing had brought the Zhu family in. There was bad blood between Zhu Jingyan and me. Zhu Mingyuan could not possibly be unaware of it. His willingness to invest in Jingxing meant he was not merely defending his daughter. He also wanted to see Jingxing go head-to-head with Yanran. This force was bigger than I had imagined, and Yanran was still seated across the chessboard, waiting for her opponent to make the first move. I stood, walked to the window, and looked out into the night. She could afford to wait. I could not. Early the next morning, I did not go to the orphanage. I went somewhere else. St. John's Church in Beijing's western suburbs. It was the first time I had come here of my own accord. The vague images before had all been triggered without my choosing. I pushed open the door and entered. The church was empty. Only one person sat in the front row, an elderly woman dressed in black, her head bowed in prayer. I quietly took a seat in the back, trying to search my mind for memories of this place. But I could not remember a thing. Just as I was about to leave, an aged voice came from behind me. "You are Chen, are you not?" I turned and saw an old man in a gray shirt standing at the door. "And you are?" "I'm the caretaker here. My name is Joe." The old man walked over. "You looked familiar." Then I remembered seeing you before. "You remember me?" Something stirred inside me. "I do. 5 years ago, you held your wedding here." Caretaker Joe sat beside me. "What do you want to know?" "That wedding. What time did it run?" "From 3 in the afternoon until 8 that night. I was on duty." That afternoon, the bride and groom arrived together. And then, the ceremony began at 6 that evening. The church was filled with white lilies. When the bride appeared, everyone fell silent. "You were so nervous, son. You could barely speak." The man paused. Then, the platform collapsed. My blood ran cold. There was no warning. The entire main platform simply gave way. The bride was closest to you. Her first instinct was to throw herself over you and shield you. You only suffered scrapes, but afterward, you both passed out. When the ambulance arrived, the doctors said neither of you was seriously hurt. You fainted from the shock. Then what? You were both carried into the ambulance. I saw you off at the door. What happened after that? After that, I do not know. Caretaker Joe stood up. For the rest, he patted my shoulder. You need to ask the people around you. I am only the caretaker. I rushed out of the church, pulling out my phone as I walked. Tang Qiu answered quickly. Tang Qiu, about Yanran and me. You know what happened, right? The line went silent for 5 seconds. What do you mean? The last time I saw Yanran. Tang Qiu's breathing grew heavier. At the airport, she was taken away by force. Then you passed out and woke up with amnesia. He was silent for a long time. After the wedding accident, the Pei family arranged for her to go to England. We all thought he could not go on. Thought what? Say it. We thought she wanted a better life and did not want anything more to do with you. I laughed, a cold, bitter laugh. You all thought that? Yes. Then why did none of you tell me? Tang Qiu did not answer. One demanded angrily. Why? Because no one wanted you to be hurt again. You were unconscious in the hospital all night, calling her name over and over. No one could bear to make you remember her again. Tang Qiu's voice turned hoarse as well. I took a deep breath. And then, a few days later, your father brought you home. Later, your father told you Pei Yanran had left. She had gone to England. You had no reaction at all. The doctors said the emotional shock had caused you to faint and lose your memory. 5 years. I closed my eyes. Everyone had kept it from me. I opened my eyes, stared down the road ahead, and drove toward the Jiang group. I hit the gas. The car shot through the Jiang group's gates. The young receptionist froze when she saw me. Mr. Jiang? I did not stop. The elevator doors closed. I pressed the button for the top floor. I pushed open the door to Jiang Jiwan's office. For 5 years, everyone had hidden it from me, and I knew nothing. My father sat behind his desk, reading documents. When he looked up and saw me, the pen in his hand stopped. Chen. What brings you here? I did not sit. I got straight to the point. You arranged the entire wedding. Your name was listed as the witness. Every payment bore your signature. So, when I forgot Pei Yanran, why did you never say a word about her? He set down his pen, leaned back in his chair, and looked at me for a long time. You know everything. Jiang Jiwan briefly closed his eyes. After the wedding accident, she was put on a plane. Her mother personally led the people who took her. I thought she chose a better life instead of you. It felt as if all the air had been sucked from the room. When you woke up, you remembered nothing. The doctors said extreme emotional distress had caused traumatic amnesia. I thought that was heaven's mercy to you. Mercy? I could no longer keep my voice down. You mistook someone's 5 years of sacrifice for betrayal. She went to England to bring the Jiang group back from the brink. Every benefactor in your career came through paths she paved. You thought she abandoned me when she was actually carrying your entire family on her shoulders. The office door was pushed open. Song Whelan stood in the doorway, staring at my face. She set down the tea in her hand. Chen, calm down. Mom, when you saw her, your smile froze. You were polite and distant, as if she were a stranger. Don't you feel guilty? Pei Yanran left without a word, leaving you unconscious and calling her name. I hated Pei Yanran for abandoning you. I hated her for 5 years. She didn't abandon me. Her mother took her away by force. That day at the airport, she turned back and shouted for me to wait for her. Then they dragged her onto the plane. I watched them take her away. Then I woke up and remembered nothing. Song Hulin's eyes flickered. What you thought was betrayal was actually her sacrifice. She carried your burden in England for 5 years. You hated her for 5 years, and I never even had the chance to hate her, because I couldn't even remember her name. Jiang Jiwan gripped the edge of the desk. His knuckles turned white. The silence weighed more than anything. Tang Qiu stood outside the door, afraid to come in, but his eyes were rimmed with red. I turned to look at him. Tang Qiu drew a breath. After the wedding accident, you and Pei Yanran were both carried into ambulances. When she passed out, she kept gripping your hand. She didn't let go until you reached the hospital. You only had minor scrapes and woke up soon afterward. Her injuries were more serious. You stayed beside her hospital bed all night. When she woke up, you held each other for a long time. Later, her mother brought a group of people and took her straight from the hospital. Then you chased them to the airport. You know what happened after that? We all thought she had abandoned you. We couldn't bear to make you remember her again. We only wanted to protect you. Protect me. My voice caught with a sob. You were protecting someone who remembered nothing while she was out there, carrying the burden for this person who remembered nothing for 5 years. Chen. I turned and walked toward the door. Song Whelan tried to stop me, but I walked straight out. The car drove out through the Jiang group's gates. I called Tang Qiu. Find out where she is now. Mr. Jiang. Miss Pei is at an orphanage. I turned the steering wheel and drove toward the orphanage. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Tang Qiu. I glanced at it and turned off the screen. There was only one place I wanted to go. When I found her at the orphanage, she was crouching on the lawn, braiding a little girl's hair. When she turned and saw me, her smile lingered for a second, then disappeared. She replaced it with the expression I knew so well. What are you doing here? I went to see my father. She said nothing, but her eyes narrowed slightly. 5 years ago, my father thought you had chosen to leave me, so he kept it from me for 5 years. My mother hated you for 5 years. Pei Yanran's eyelashes trembled. You finally know. Her eyes reddened, as if she were holding something back. In England, I watch videos of your performances every day. You played Old Dream at Vienna's Golden Hall. That was the piece I chose. 5 years have passed. You missed the best 5 years of my life. I pulled her tightly into my arms. After a long while, she raised her head. 5 years ago, you told me you'd marry no one but me. I've remembered it for 5 years. Did you forget even that? Fragments of memory came crashing back. In the church, I was so nervous, I could barely speak. She walked out in a white wedding gown. Everyone fell silent. I remember. I told you that you were the love of my life. I would marry no one but you. She smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. Then she kissed me, lightly and briefly. I tightened my grip on her hand and kissed her back. Yanran, don't ever leave me again. We'll stay together for the rest of our lives. All right. She buried her face in the hollow of my shoulder. Her voice was muffled. I've waited for you to say that. For 5 years. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Tang Qiu. Mr. Jiang, Jingxing's acquisition proposal has officially entered the review process. Mingyuan has increased his investment. It's 3 times the previous amount. Pay Entertainment will hold an emergency board meeting next week. She lifted her head from my shoulder and saw my phone screen. Jingxing is starting to panic. Tripling the investment means he has either found a more powerful backer or wants to muddy the waters before the formal review. She released my shirt and looked up at me. How do you know? The information about Jingxing that I gave you. I kept a copy. I've studied it carefully these past few days. She froze for a second, then smiled. Since when have you become so proactive? Since the day you told me, tomorrow at 10. The corners of her lips lifted again. This time, it wasn't tentative. It was certain, as if she'd finally confirmed something. I have a plan for next week's board meeting, but right now, she reached out and took my fingers. She held them tightly, just as she'd held my hand at the hospital 5 years ago. Right now, I only want to be with you. Her fingers stayed wrapped around mine, and I didn't let go either. That night, she led me to a bench outside the orphanage. Jingxing wants to muddy the waters at the emergency board meeting. Then I'll let him lie in the mess he made. Acquiring the subsidiary is his first step. His real target is control of Pay Entertainment. What makes you so sure? Because he opened his company across from mine. Someone who only wanted to buy a subsidiary wouldn't pay that kind of rent for an office. He's declaring war, not doing business. How will you expose him? She gently shook her head. I won't expose him. I'll let him expose himself. Do you still have the information Tang Qiu gave you? I nodded. I do. She smiled gently. Good. In a few days, I need you standing beside me. A few days later, in the top-floor conference room at Pay Entertainment's headquarters, I arrived early. Tang Qiu stood beside me, holding a stack of documents. Her face was tense, but her eyes were bright with excitement. Mr. Jiang, I've been waiting for today's show for 3 months. I said nothing. My fingers tightened around Jingxing's file. Every financial transaction here, every investment, the time and place of every meeting. I've memorized them all. This is a blade. Today, I'll place it in her hand. Just then, the directors began filing in. Jingxing was the last to enter. When he saw me, a hint of scrutiny flashed in his eyes, before he quickly concealed it. Yanran, long time no see. You look much better. Have a seat. The board meeting began. Jingxing spoke first. Everyone, I submitted an acquisition proposal a few days ago. The target is a subsidiary under Pay Entertainment that handles performance coordination. Yanran, you've probably seen the proposal as well. This acquisition would benefit Pay Entertainment. The subsidiary would operate more efficiently on its own and ease the pressure on the parent company's financial reports. Yanran said nothing. She only watched him, the corners of her lips slightly raised. Jingxing, I've read your proposal. There's one small problem. The legal representative of your acquiring entity is named Zhou Wei. But after tracing the ownership structure, the ultimate beneficial owner is you. The conference room fell silent. Yanran placed the document on the table. Jingxing picked it up and glanced at it. His smile began to stiffen. This is only a formatting error. It doesn't affect the substance of the acquisition. Yanran ignored him. Second question. Who is the strategic investor? Sweat trickled down Jingxing's temple. It's confidential business information. I can't disclose it. Yanran smiled. You don't need to disclose it. I've already found out. To companies under Zhu Mingyuan's name, provided the funding jointly. Jingxing's expression changed. Several people whispered among themselves. Yanran picked up the third document. Her voice remained perfectly calm. Third question. The note attached to Clause 3 of your proposal states, after the acquisition is completed, the acquiring party has the right to carry out asset restructuring and adjust the target company's business direction. What does the asset restructuring involve? Jingxing didn't answer. The room went completely silent. I watched the scene coldly from the side. He wasn't trying to buy the subsidiary. He wanted to acquire 15% and use it as leverage. to seize control of the entire Pei Entertainment Group. Pei Jingxing stood up. Do you think this little bit of evidence can stop me? Pei Yanran remained seated at the head of the table. Do you think these are the only 3 documents I have? Pei Jingxing's eyes narrowed sharply. Tang Qi took the stack of documents in her hands and passed it to Pei Yanran. Then she walked to the door and pushed it open. 2 people stood outside, a lawyer and an auditor. Since last week, they've conducted a complete compliance review of your company. The findings include irregular financial transactions, concealment of the acquisition terms by the actual controller, and suspected hostile acquisition. There's one more thing. She paused and looked at me. I walked over to Pei Yanran's side. The last trace of Pei Jingxing's smile shattered completely. When you drove my father out of the board, I told you that one day you'd pay the price. A flicker of impatience crossed Pei Yanran's face. My mother drove your father from the board because he embezzled 30 million in company funds and falsified the accounts for 3 years. You don't actually think your father was falsely accused, do you? He wasn't falsely accused. He broke the law and was removed. My mother chose not to pursue criminal charges and even left my uncle a way out. And you thought that was injustice. So you hated me for 5 years and planned all of this. Then let me tell you now, everything you've done has been pointless. Pei Jingxing's pupils contracted sharply. How did you know? When my mother cleaned out the board, she preserved the complete audit records. I've read every one of them. She turned and glanced at the other directors. Everyone. The background of Pei Jingxing, the acquiring party's actual controller, and all the problems with the proposal are now laid out on the table. I ask everyone to vote. The eldest director spoke. The acquisition is rejected. Initiate a compliance investigation. No one objected. Pei Jingxing stood in the middle of the room, like a broken blade. The darkness remained in his eyes, but the blade had gone dull. He looked at me, then at Pei Yanran. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Then he turned and walked toward the door. He paused when he reached it and looked back at Pei Yanran. You think this is over? Pei Yanran didn't look at him. You deliberately opened your company across from mine. Now, whenever I look up at your sign, all I see is a wall covered in violations. Pei Jingxing left. The conference room door closed. The tension in the air finally eased. All 7 directors looked at Pei Yanran. Their eyes held something I'd never seen before. It wasn't fear. It was respect. Pei Yanran and I walked out of Pei Entertainment's headquarters and stood across the street from Pei Jingxing's company. Its sign still reflected the sunlight on the glass curtain wall. The words Jingxing Culture Media were emblazoned across it. It looked brand new, as if it had been hung only yesterday. I stared at the sign and said heavily, once the compliance investigation begins, he'll either liquidate the company or transfer it and flee. There is no third option. The corner of her mouth lifted. This sign will be gone within 3 days. Then, every day when I look up, she turned to me. All I'll see is the sky. Her eyes held nothing but tenderness. Pei Yanran walked out of the building and smiled when she saw me. You're here. I handed her a latte. She took it and looked down. No sugar. I remember. She smiled and cradled the cup. Her fingers brushed the side of it. You finally remembered. Tang Qiu called. Brother, the compliance investigation is complete. Pei Jingxing's hostile acquisition has been confirmed. The company accounts have been frozen. Zhu Mingyuan's investment has been returned. He liquidated everything and fled overnight. Zhu Jingyan also withdrew from all their partnerships and issued a statement distancing herself. Pei Yanran gave a soft laugh when she heard this. She'd already been defanged, yet she still wanted one last bite. I looked at the now empty glass wall across the street. You were right. When I look up, all I see is the sky. She turned to me, tenderness filling her eyes. I continued, but there are still 2 things left to do. My mother had hated her for 5 years. Her mother sent her away 5 years ago. After returning to the Jiang family home, Song Whelan sat in the living room, holding a cup of tea. We had to deal with the first matter. Mom, I need to tell you something. Without even looking at me, my mother said, here to speak for her again? I'm not speaking for her. I'm telling you the truth. 5 years ago, she didn't leave willingly. Her mother forcibly took her away. At the airport that day, she turned back and shouted for me to wait for her. Then she was dragged onto the plane. I chased after her and passed out. When I woke up, I remembered nothing. Song Huelin's hand froze, the teacup suspended in midair. What? You thought she abandoned me and hated her for 5 years, but she never abandoned me. For 5 years in Britain, she carried Jiang Corporation on her shoulders, paving the way for me and taking the blows meant for me. You always thought she chose to leave, but she was sent away. Song Huelin's hand tightened around the teacup. I hated the wrong person. Tears instantly welled in my mother's eyes. All I saw was her leaving. You called her name all night. I thought she didn't want you anymore. I hated her for 5 years. I don't want you to hate her. My voice caught, too. I'll bring her home for dinner tomorrow. Song Whelan wiped away her tears and nodded. All right. Jiang Jiwan came out of the study with his fist clenched tightly. He remained silent for a long time. She shouldered the Jiang family's burden for 5 years. Yet I never even thanked her. I arranged the wedding myself back then. My name was written in the witness section. But after the wedding went wrong, I kept it from you for 5 years. I thought I was protecting you. I was really running away. He took a box from behind his back. I should have given you this sooner. It was my fault. When the box was opened, it contained photographs from the wedding 5 years ago and a videotape. The cover read June 8th, St. John's Church. The tape was inserted. On the screen, she wore a white wedding gown and walked toward me step by step, holding lilies. On the screen, I nervously stumbled over my words. I do. The whole room burst into laughter. She laughed, too. Then she ran toward me and threw herself into my arms. The whole room began to cheer and tease us. Applause rang out everywhere. On the screen, all I could do was hold her and grin foolishly. Tears streamed down my face. The memories came flooding back. But this time, they weren't fragments. They were complete scenes. The memories locked away in the deepest part of my mind had finally been unlocked. That afternoon, Yanran received a phone call, but stood frozen for 2 seconds before answering. Mom, I heard about what happened at the board meeting. You handled it better than I did back then. 5 years ago, when I sent you away, I thought I was protecting you. During your 5 years in Britain, you took every path I arranged for you and made it your own. That boy, Chen, I used to think he wasn't good enough for you, but these 5 years have taught me a great deal. I know you chose this man for yourself. No one can stop you. Yanran's voice trembled slightly. Mom, you finally said it. Yanran's mother paused on the other end. I owe you more than an apology. From now on, you will decide what happens with Pei Entertainment. I won't make any more decisions for you. You've already proven that you can do better than I did. Yanran hung up and stood by the window for a long time. She didn't even notice when I came in. After a long while, she turned, saw me, and smiled. My mother said, you're worthy. She also said she won't make decisions for me anymore because I've proven I can do better than she did. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. She had waited 5 years for those words. They meant more than any apology. The next day, I brought Yanran home to the Jiang family. Song Whelan stood at the door, studying Yanran solemnly. Yanran, I hated you for 5 years. I thought you had left because you didn't want a Chen anymore. But a Chen told me. You turned back at the airport and shouted for him to wait. Song Whelan stepped forward and took Yanran's hand. Yanran, I was wrong. Some of the suffering you endured these 5 years was caused by me. I didn't know you had been paving the way for him. I'm sorry. Yanran's tears slipped silently down her cheeks. Yanran, I owe you both a wedding. The one I arranged for you 5 years ago was never completed. Let me arrange it again. This time, we'll see it through. All right. On the day of the wedding, at St. John's Church, Mr. Zhou stood at the entrance, watching us walk in. You're finally back. I've waited here for 5 years. Every day before opening, I looked at the repaired stage and imagined that one day you'd return. Standing on the stage, my voice still caught with nerves. 5 years ago, I was too nervous to speak. This time, I have only one thing to say. Yanran, I will marry no one but you. This time, I won't let anyone take you away. She smiled, tears shining through it. I have only one thing to say. To a Chen, I waited for you for 5 years. Now I finally don't have to wait anymore. After speaking, we began exchanging rings. The rings we couldn't exchange 5 years ago were finally on our fingers. Song Whelan sat below the stage, with tears streaming down her face, but the smile on her lips was more genuine than 5 years ago. Yanran's mother sat on the other side. She said nothing. She only watched her daughter in a white wedding gown. I held her hand. What do you see when you look up now? She looked up at the view ahead, the sky, and our happy future. On the first morning of our marriage, I opened my eyes. Sunlight slipped through the gap in the curtains. I reached across, but the other side of the bed was empty. Panic seized me. I sprang upright. I rushed out of the bedroom barefoot. There was no one in the living room or kitchen. Then I saw the balcony. She was sitting in a wicker chair. The morning light spilled across her hair. She held a cup of hot water and stared blankly into the distance. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind. You scared me to death. My sudden movement made her laugh. She leaned back into my arms. I'm just used to waking up early. During those 5 years in Britain, I woke up like this every day. Why did you wake up so early? To wait for you. Wait for me to do what? To wait for your performance videos to go online, and your new album to be released, and to hear you play that melody from Old Dream. She paused. Her voice was as soft as mist. The first thing I did every morning was check where you were. Hearing this, the pain was real, but so was the warmth. 5 years. Every day, She woke up looking for me, while I couldn't even remember her name. I lowered my head and kissed the crown of her hair. From now on, when you wake up, you won't have to search anymore, because I'll be sleeping right beside you. She said nothing, but her fingers tightened around my sleeve. She made a quiet sound of agreement. In the kitchen, I cooked her a bowl of porridge. She held the bowl and took tiny sips. Then I suddenly remembered what Jinxing had told me. In Britain, she had survived for a long time on nutritional fluids. Watching her drink the porridge, my heart ached with tenderness. Drink slowly. Don't rush. She looked up at me, and her lips curved slightly. With you watching me like that, how could I possibly rush? Fine, I won't look anymore. I turned away and pretended to look out the window, but I kept watching her bowl from the corner of my eye. When she finished the porridge, she sighed in contentment. My phone rang. It was a message from Tang Qiu. Brother Chen, congratulations. Happy newlywed life. Are you up? Did you sleep well last night? How is Miss Pei feeling? What are you having for breakfast? I didn't reply to a single message. Another message followed right away. Oh, and Mr. Jiang, you have another performance in Shenzhen next Wednesday. Miss Pei previously booked your schedule for 3 years. Now that you're married, should we adjust the performance arrangements? I handed my phone to Pei Yanran. You booked my performances for 3 years. How are we handling that now? She glanced at the messages and laughed. Can you return performances your wife bought for you? I was helpless. So, you've been keeping me as your pet. She looked up at me, a hint of pride in her eyes. I spent 5.2 million to hire you to play Old Dream once. Now I've booked you for 3 whole years. Tell me, was that a good deal or not? How many performances is that over 3 years? She calculated. A little over 40. Less than 150,000 per performance on average. Your rate has gone up, but I got the early bird price. When did you learn all this business talk? I learned it while running the company in Britain. You have to know how to do the math. She paused. Her voice softened. But I chose every one of those performances carefully. Every venue, every set list, and every seating arrangement, I reviewed them all. You reviewed them? When I was in Britain, before every performance, I received a report on the venue. I confirmed that the lighting, sound system, and safety measures were all in place. Before signing off, she looked at me. Her voice grew softer still. I couldn't stand beside you on stage, but I could make sure that whenever you took the stage, everything was the very best it could be. More than 40 performances over 3 years. I thought they were all lucky breaks, but behind every one of them was someone who had checked every cable for me and every screw in every speaker. Then why didn't you come see me back then? She reached out and touched my face. My mother didn't understand you at the time. One of the conditions for her investment in the Jiang family was that I couldn't see you. Heartbroken, I pulled her tightly into my arms. Just then, another message from Tang Qiu came through. Mr. Jiang, please reply to me. Stop getting lost in your newlywed bliss. Just tell me, are we holding that Shenzhen performance or not? Pei Yanran took my phone and sent a voice message directly. The Shenzhen performance goes ahead as planned. Also, starting next month, all performance contracts will be handled as joint husband and wife bookings. Jiang Shen's fee remains unchanged, but Pei Entertainment will no longer handle contracts separately. Jiang Shen's studio will sign the contracts directly. Tang Qiu replied at once. Received. Brilliant decision, Miss Pei. Then I won't disturb the newlyweds any longer. Pei Yanran returned my phone. The corners of her lips curved upward. Your assistant is pretty amusing. He's talkative, but he's reliable. I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let him stay by your side. Tang Qiu was your arrangement? She didn't answer directly. She only said, do you think an ordinary music school graduate could go from little bars to the international stage entirely on his own? She was behind every stroke of luck. Come on, let's go somewhere. Where? At the orphanage entrance. The little girl with pigtails cried, sister's here. Then ran over first. She hugged Pei Yanran's leg, then saw me, and her eyes widened. Sister, who is this big brother? Pei Yanran crouched down and patted the girl's head. He's my husband. The little girl looked even more surprised. Does having a husband mean you're married? We're married. The little girl looked at Pei Yanran, then at me, then tilted her head and asked, sister, why has your hair turned white? Pei Yanran froze for a second. Standing beside her, my heart clenched. She answered with a smile. Because I waited for someone for too long. The worry turned my hair white. The little girl said earnestly, then you don't have to wait anymore. He's right beside you now. Will your hair turn black again? I think so. He said he'd dye it black for me. Then it will definitely look beautiful afterward. I crouched down to meet the little girl's eyes. It certainly will. Sister is already very beautiful. The little girl giggled. She ran to announce it to the other children. Sister is married. Sister's husband is so handsome. The courtyard erupted with excitement. The children crowded around, all talking at once. What do you do? Can you play the flute? Can you teach us to play? Pei Yanran stood to the side watching. Her eyes curved into a smile. That afternoon, after the children fell asleep for their nap, Pei Yanran and I sat on the swing in the courtyard. It had been a long time since things had felt this peaceful. During those 5 years in Britain, every day was busy. There were board meetings, performance arrangements, and checking your messages every day. I turned to look at her. You don't have to check anymore. I'm right beside you. She briefly closed her eyes. I'm used to it. It'll take time to change. Then take it slowly. There's no rush. Oh, right? There's one more thing I haven't told you. What is it? I've been supporting this orphanage all along. Not under the Pei family's name, but personally. I send money every month, along with supplies, clothes, books. I couldn't come in person while I was in Britain, but the money never stopped. These children are like you. Their families have decided their fates for them. I don't want them to end up like you, waiting 5 years for an answer. I looked at her profile. Even while suffering, this woman was still shielding others from pain. Just then, footsteps sounded at the entrance. I looked up. Jingxing stood in the doorway. She carried a bag of toys and wore an awkward smile. I'm here to do some charity work. She looked at Pei Yanran, then at me, trying to sound casual. I heard this place needed supplies, so I brought some. Pei Yanran stood up. Her expression was calm, but her eyes turned colder. Miss Su, here to do charity work. As for what happened with Pei Entertainment, I've cut ties with it. I also issued a statement saying I have no further connection to Pei Jingxing. Mr. Jiang, I'm truly sorry about what happened before. Miss Zhu, you didn't need to come all this way to do charity work. A bank transfer would have been enough. Did you come in person so I could see your sincerity? Or so Chen could see it? I let the matter of your cufflinks go. As for your alliance with Pei Jingxing, I've already dealt with it. I also saw the statement you issued. But Miss Zhu, charity isn't public relations. Standing here with a bag of toys isn't kindness. It's a performance. Jingxing bit her lip and tightened her grip on the bag. Pei Yanran studied her for 2 seconds, then turned and sat back on the swing. You can leave the items here, but you don't need to come in person next time. Jingxing stood in the doorway, her face shifting between pale and ashen. When I said nothing, she set the bag down and turned to leave. Her steps were twice as fast as when she arrived. The courtyard fell silent again. Pei Yanran's voice returned to its usual calm. She won't come back a second time. What you just said was even harsher than what you said at the board meeting. The board meeting was a battle. This is cleaning up the battlefield. You clean up a battlefield pretty efficiently. It has to be efficient. If the battlefield isn't cleared properly, someone will always think they still have a chance. She doesn't have a chance anymore. Not because of what you said, but because I chose you. She looked at me, and her eyes softened for a moment. I know, but she couldn't suppress the smile tugging at her lips. On the drive back, Pei Yanran suddenly frowned. I immediately looked over. What is it? She pressed a hand to her abdomen. My stomach feels a little uncomfortable. It's nothing. I just ate too many sweet things today. What sweet things? I grew tense. Porridge doesn't count as something sweet, does it? She glanced at me. Not the porridge. You're so sweet my stomach can't take it. Her words caught me completely off guard. My heart skipped a beat, and I burst out laughing. Pei Yanran, when did you learn to flirt? She said with her eyes closed. When I was bored in Britain, I practiced on my own. I didn't reply. Instead, I reached over and gently rubbed her abdomen. I moved gently, afraid of aggravating her chronic condition. A little gentler. I lightened my touch. When will your stomach problems completely go away? She didn't answer directly. She only said, it's already much better than last year. Last year, even one bite of bread made me vomit. Being able to drink a bowl of porridge now is already progress. Last year, even one bite of bread made her vomit. My heart ached. What kind of days had those been? Alone in Britain, she had managed the company and paved the way for me. While battling anorexia, I didn't dare ask anything else. I simply continued rubbing her stomach, even more gently than before. She gradually relaxed, and her breathing steadied. Thank you, Chen. You don't have to thank me. It's what a husband should do. The corners of her lips lifted again. That line came out pretty smoothly. I learned it from you. It was already evening when we returned to the apartment. She went to the bedroom to change, while I sat in the living room. Thank you sent another message. Boss Jiang, about next Wednesday's Shenzhen performance. The venue has confirmed everything. The lighting and sound systems are all fine. I also reviewed the one Pei Yanran signed. The venue report. Every item had red notes on it. She even had the slope of the audience seating checked. This woman really does care about you. I replied to Tang Q with 2 words. Shut up. Tang Q replied instantly. All right. I put down my phone and walked to the bedroom door. The door was open. She had her back to me, with part of her slender waist exposed. She was so thin it broke my heart. I suddenly noticed that on her lower back, there was a small scar. I didn't remember seeing it before. She turned around and noticed my gaze fixed on her waist. An old injury. She tugged her t-shirt down. The stage collapsed on our wedding day. I threw myself over you to protect you, and was cut by a splinter of wood. I walked over and gently lifted the corner of her t-shirt. The scar wasn't large, but its shape was irregular. When my finger touched it, she shivered slightly. This is what you got protecting me. MMHMM. Something like that. Will never happen again. I won't let you get hurt for me again. She looked at me, her eyes slightly red. Then she reached out and touched my face. All right. She pulled an old notebook from the wardrobe. The cover had yellowed, and its corners were worn. She hesitated, but handed it to me anyway. You might want to read this. I took it and opened it. The date was June 9th. 5 years earlier, the day after she was put on a plane. It read, "Where is Chen today? He should still be in the hospital. Has he woken up? Does he remember me?" I turned to the second page. June 10th. He was discharged from the hospital. Tang Qiu said he was resting at home. He didn't mention me. He really forgot me. I kept turning the pages. Every page followed the same format. The date. Where is Chen today? What did he do? How is he? Gradually, the entries changed. They began including information about my performances. He played Old Dream at Vienna's Golden Hall. I listened to it 3 times in my London apartment. He held a solo concert in Berlin. Moonlight was on the set list. Moonlight is my favorite. He won the gold medal at the Paris Music Festival. The path I paved for him had finally led him there. I turned to the final few pages. The handwriting grew faster and increasingly messy, as if she were rushing to finish. The last page was dated last month. There was only one line on it. He finally played Old Dream. In front of me, he had finally come back. I closed the notebook. My throat felt painfully tight. 5 years. Every day. Every night. She had been looking for me. I set the notebook down and looked at her. You wrote in it every day. She nodded. Habit. It was also the only thing I could do. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. You don't have to write anymore. Starting today, I'll always be by your side. I know, but I won't throw away the notebook. She kept it for me for 5 years. I have to keep it. Keep it. I want to read every page. She smiled. You've finished reading it now, but there's one page you haven't seen. I froze. There is. From inside the notebook's cover, she pulled out a piece of paper folded several times. I've been writing this letter for 5 years. 1 section each year, but I never finished the last section. I lowered my head and read the first section. Chen, if forgetting me would make you happy, then forget me. I don't want you to suffer because of me. The second section. Chen, if you remember me, come and find me. I'm in Jingxing, at Pay Entertainment, at the Orphanage, or anywhere you can find me. The third section. Chen, if you hate me, I'll accept that. Being hated is better than being forgotten. At least hatred means you remember me. The space for the final section was blank. The final section. I want to write. If you've come back, then never leave again. But I've never dared to write it because I wasn't sure you would come back. I looked into her hesitant eyes and wrote one line in the blank space. I'm back. I'm never leaving again. Her tears finally fell. They weren't tears of grief. They were tears of release. She was finally letting go of all the fear and uncertainty of the past 5 years. Chen, once you've written it, don't erase it. I won't. Whatever I erase, I'll make it up to you. You can't make up for tears. The price is too high. I wrapped my arms around her. Then don't let me erase them. She hugged me back. MMHMM. Darkness settled outside the window, but the lights inside were still on. Her white hair glowed beneath the lights, like moonlight resting on her shoulders. Looking at her, I thought, the white hair, the scars, the diary, and the unfinished letter. They were all proof that she had waited for me. And now, at last, I had the right to turn that proof into memories with my own hands. When we returned to the living room, my phone vibrated again. It was a message from Tang Qiu. Boss Jiang, the liquidation of Pei Jingxing's company is complete, but we still haven't found one overseas account under his name. The destination of the final transfer was Jingxing. We haven't identified the recipient. The amount was exactly enough to register a new company. I stared at the message and slightly furrowed my brow. Pei Jingxing had another move planned. Pei Yanran saw my expression and asked, "What's wrong?" Pei Jingxing may not be completely out of the game. I handed her my phone. She glanced at the message, and her lips twitched, then let him come. She leaned against my shoulder, her voice calm. Besides, now, I have you beside me. Yet her fingers tightened around my sleeve, as if she didn't want to let go. Pei Jingxing's overseas transfer was traced by Jingxing 3 days later. The recipient was a shell company, but Pei Yanran was even faster. The day before the transfer arrived, she had already had her lawyer freeze the account. Pei Jingxing hadn't even drawn his final blade. Before it was confiscated, Zhu Jingyan withdrew from every circle connected to me. I didn't wear the cufflinks, but I didn't throw them away either. When Pei Yanran saw the velvet box, she only said, "Keep them. You can use them someday." Consider it her final gesture of goodwill toward you. You don't even mind the things she gave me anymore. She smiled. Back when we were competing over flowers, it was different. But there's no need to compete anymore. You're already my husband. What is there to compete over? A month later, Tang Qiu finally learned the truth about everything. After learning the truth, he exclaimed in shock. So all my promotions and raises over the past 5 years were approved by Miss Pei too. I couldn't hold back my laughter. You finally know who your real boss is. 6 months later, Pei Yanran underwent a full medical examination. Her condition was much better than before. She just needed to keep it that way. When she returned with the report, her expression was calm, but I still saw her secretly breathe a sigh of relief. The day Pei Yanran's mother came to Jingxing, Pei Yanran went to the airport to meet her personally. 5 years earlier, she had personally put her daughter on a plane. 5 years later, she flew here and stood at the arrival gate. When she saw her daughter, her eyes reddened. Yanran, I owe you more than just an apology. Pei Yanran's mother held out her hand. Pei Yanran hesitated for 2 seconds before taking it. That evening, we sat on the balcony. She held the old notebook in her hands. The line I had written on the last page was still there. I'm back. I'm never leaving again. She turned to that page. Her finger paused. And then she smiled. Your handwriting is really ugly. The sound of a bamboo flute drifted from somewhere in the distance. It was coming from the speakers I had forgotten to turn off. 3 months later, Pei Yanran's white hair began turning black. For the first time, Pei Yanran's mother invited me home for dinner. During the meal, she said, this boy will practically be one of the Pei family from now on. Pei Yanran froze. I chimed in. Annie, in my case, I'm a full member of the Pei family. I remember the day I proposed. That day, after I finished playing her favorite piece, Moonlight, the lights and flowers were arranged just as they had been 5 years earlier. The only difference was that this time, I was the one proposing. Pei Yanran came onto the stage to give me flowers. I didn't take them. Instead, I dropped to one knee. 5 years ago, you protected me. From this day forward, now it's my turn to protect you. Yanran, will you marry me? Her eyes filled with tears. She nodded again and again. Then she leaned down and kissed me.